Hello. Today we're going to talk about the Stellar Registry and the Stellar Registry CLI. I'm Pam from the AHA Company, and today I also have Willem, the CTO of the AHA Company, formerly known as AHA Labs, on. Welcome, Willem.
Hi, thanks, Pam.
So Willem is going to tell us. So tell us a little about what is the Stellar Registry, or what's the intention behind it.
Yeah, so the intention behind the Stellar Registry was to sort of have smart contracts serve the same as packages from npm to crates.io, where you can publish your completed WASM binaries with a version and a name, and then from that deploy a contract. Anyone can deploy the contract, knowing that it's the one that they expect, and then also when they do the deploy can also have a name, claim a name as well for their contract. So, when you upload a WASM binary now, you get back a hash and then have to use that as your input to do the deploy. And then what you get back from that is this very long C address. So we wanted to
Mm.
sort of make it more human readable and then use that to, manage your contracts. And then the next big thing is when you go to upgrade your contracts, knowing the exact version that you want to upgrade to, so that it's a little less worry free, more worry free.
That's really interesting. So our idea is to, especially exactly what you said, is I was thinking the human readable aspect of, when we deploy contracts, we get these long C addresses, which are not, you know, not very portable, really easy to, mistake and make mistakes when you copy it. Whereas, using human readable, hopefully we can help mitigate that a bit. Um, and then I also feel like this will be really useful for cross contract calls. Can you address that a little bit?
Yeah, so that it makes it, once you have a name for your contract, it makes it really easy to, have others use your contract. And future feature we have is being able to use the name of the contract as a macro. So when you're writing your contract, already have can refer to another one in a human readable name as well, in the same way you would import something from crates.io, and then that makes it really nice when you're, if you change networks, or, that can also change the C address. So having just one name helps to make your contract more, cross compatible and without having to change your, go look it up and write it. And then as well as that, the registry itself hosts binary. So if you don't know, which specific contract you're going to interface with, it sort of acts as this repository of the interfaces that contracts could have. So for example, the
Mm.
contracts from Open Zeppelin we hope to publish there. Well, then you can know the interface of a contract, and that could be provided at runtime. So yeah, it just provides flexibility for how you want to interact with contracts, or if you know which specific one or not.
That's pretty cool. And then you can also, so let's say you want to deploy a contract based on a, audited Open Zeppelin contract, like those contracts we're planning to have on the registry.
Yeah, exactly. That's our first big use case, is trying to take all the different combinations of contracts that they have with different features, and that way, using their wizard, you select a certain combination, and then instead of having to download it and compile it yourself, you can just directly deploy it from the registry and know that you have this audited contract to
And won't
use.
won't that have a benefit too, of then I, as the contract deployer, will be paying for that contract upload? Like whoever the uploader is the one who, is maintaining that for the community?
Exactly, because there's a separation between the WASM binary and your contract. So there's only one WASM binary for all the contracts that use it. So yeah, makes it very cheap. It
Yeah, I
pretty
can see a lot
much,
of efficiency benefits.
yeah, and also too, because you have this upgradability aspect. If it opens up and needs to patch their contracts, you can easily upgrade into it again without having to pay for the WASM.
Right, right. So that once your dependencies are available. Well, great. Well, that's a really helpful intro to the registry and what's some of what's coming next for the registry. But why don't we look at what's we can using the registry right now and how it works. So I got the registry CLI pulled up. So I did that by ahead of time. I did cargo install Stellar Scaffold Stellar Registry Registry CLI. So that's already been run. So I'm not going to click that, but that's how I got this installed. And then that is installed just like Stellar Scaffold as a plugin to the Stellar CLI. So that's why I can do that Stellar Registry namespace. And so I have the Stellar Registry CLI. And so the first thing, and I'm in a folder where I've already set up a Stellar Scaffold project and it's already got its dependencies. I've already built the project, so the WASM already exists. So, but we'll play with that a little too. But so the first thing we want to do is publish. So talk to me about publish and what registry publish means.
Yeah, so the Stellar CLI and the network in general has this upload transaction for your contracts where you can for your WASM binaries. So the normal workflow is you have finish building your contract and you call up or you call Stellar contract upload. And so we wanted to make this more like, instead of doing that, publishing like you would to npm or crates.io. If you build with Stellar Scaffold, it'll actually embed the this metadata of the version and the name and the repository into the WASM so that when you can use Stellar Registry Publish, it'll actually know what, all those keys will be provided. And then that way too, when you pull down you can, use the download, which we'll talk about later, you can verify that that metadata is accurate. So yes,
Right.
we want and we also want it, to be safe that, you can only publish new versions, and the way the versioning works in the contract is exactly the same as crates.io. So you have the benefit of knowing that logic is um, tested
That'll
and
be
true.
consistent since you're writing your contracts in Rust. Nice.
Yeah.
So I did build this contract with Stellar Scaffold build. So no, I did those commands out of order. Stellar contract info meta.
Dash
So I
WASM.
can, yep, thank you. And so Stellar Scaffold includes, so the version of my contract is 0.0.1. And so that is embedded into the WASM metadata. And when I run Stellar Scaffold publish, a Stellar registry publish, and I pass the WASM. So those will be the default arguments already in there because they're available in the WASM. But I can override them, can't I? If I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. In
So
case
I
somebody
could
else
always
has that
change it.
WASM name or, yeah.
Right. And maybe I want to, change that name. Um, or, and so then I need to pass an author, right?
Yeah. So the author is the account that is allowed after the initial publish to publish additional versions.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just gonna make my text a little bigger. So I'm gonna use a me key that I already have on my machine. And so let's publish this. I'm on testnet to publish to the registry. And so it's signed that transaction. And then I can see that I published, this is the WASM I published, this is the version I published, the name I published, and the author. So now it's published to the registry. So now let's say, if someone else has published something to the registry and I want to get that file for myself, what's the command so I can do that?
Yeah. It's the download.
Okay, so Stellar Registry download, and then the options there. So I'm, you know, say what the name that I want to download. And I guess I could specify the version if I want. I'll specify the out file of where to put it. So let's say Stellar Registry download, and then this was named Demo Hello World. And let's put it in the out file, foo.wasm. And so that now if I do Stellar contract info meta foo wasm, so that's a completely different. I freshly download that file, but I download that wasm. So now I could use that in, say, referencing in my local testing environment, for example, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. That's handy. So we published a contract, we downloaded a contract. What else can we do? So that right now we've just been dealing with WASM. What about working with contracts?
Yeah, so you can use in the same way you use Stellar CLI deploy, contract deploy. Here we have our own version of deploy, but as well as instead of referring to the WASM hash we want to deploy, we refer to the published WASM we just looked at, and then we can also give it a name.
And is it, remind me, it's a contract name and is it WASM name?
WASM name, yeah.
Great. Demo hello world. Anything else I need to add on here?
In this case, I think this contract doesn't have a constructor, but otherwise you would do a slop, so dash dash, and then put any arguments that the constructor needed.
Right. Right. So, because in this demo, we're using the hello world contract, which is just a basic says hello world. It doesn't have an admin. It's not upgradable, but just for the purposes of this demo, we're keeping it really simple. So this has no constructor arguments. So we're going to deploy and I'm going to write down this
Looks like,
timestamp and I broke it. Okay.
yeah, I was going to say maybe that contract was already taken.
So now I'm going to deploy that contract. Deploy contract name. I know like we've taken a few my contract, test contract. How about it, we're recording this in October. Why not October contract?
Yeah.
Why not? So for just testing purposes, this is all testnet. And then WASM name. This is demo hello world. And so it's going to sign that transaction, send it over testnet, and now that contract is deployed successfully. So if I did Stellar contract invoke, then I'll get the information about that I could this contract. But there's another command that I want us to show because this, we're still in the land of C addresses, and how do I get that cool name that I deployed on the registry locally?
Yeah, so in the same way you can have the CLI lets you have aliases and then refer to those as a contract ID. Here we can create an alias from a previously deployed contract.
Got it. And so then what do I enter here?
Uh, yeah, I always have to check. It's either I think it
Oh, let's
might.
check the help. So contract name of deployed contract.
Yeah, so it's just location.
So it'll be, and we called it October contract.
Yep.
And so it's getting that contract DID from the registry. And so now I can do Stellar contract invoke ID October contract, and I'm able to call that contract with an alias. That's pretty handy. That's nice to we're getting those human names back into the flow. And then I think the last thing you already talked about it a bit, but the last part of the registry that we haven't covered and won't in this demo because we're just using the hello contract. But so we can also upgrade a contract. So when we're doing that, how does that work? We won't demo it, but
Yeah.
so what's the idea of upgrade?
So the idea of upgrade is that there's a standard for how you can have upgradable contracts, and this allows you to basically have the registry look up using the WASM name. You can also provide a version if you need to go to a previous version, but basically it decides when which new WASM hash your contract should become. And so this just makes it a little bit safer because if you're having to do it yourself, you're passing in this very long, again, not human readable hash, and it can be a little nerve wracking when you're trying to upgrade a contract. So here we try and, we want to make it easier and more declarative about what version of your contract you would want to upgrade to or from. And so, yeah, we hope that it'll make it kind of the de facto standard to make all the contracts upgradable. So, that way too, you can, upgrade for new features or for security bugs and have the same guarantees.
Right. And especially I could see the benefit of using this flow rather than if you're pointing to a regular C address, you might be, if they upload and change their WASM upgrade underneath, then you're not necessarily pointing to the same WASM hash. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
this way, when you're consuming those cross contract calls, you're being really explicit about what WASM that you think that you're calling. So I can definitely see
Exactly.
some benefits to that on making making those cross contract calls really explicit.
Yeah,
So,
and yeah, making and again, it's like because those addresses can also change depending on what network you're on. Having it using this
mhm.
name sort of crosses over, so you can have this whole staging environment with it on testnet, and then when you go to mainnet, know that it's gonna
Right.
move
Like
move
once
over.
once projects are using the registry, then this, if I have an Oracle that I have it deployed on, testnet, on mainnet, on FutureNet, and people can use that name. And the registry abstracts away that C address because I've, published it and I claim my namespace.
Exactly.
Right. Cool. Great. I think that that's, there's we also talked a little bit about, what's next for the registry already, but what's the what are some of the things like we're thinking about in terms of what's next for the registry?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, yeah, trying to become the the initial place for all of the Open Zeppelin contracts, and just also working with other people in the community to have these, you know, trusted authors. And the other thing that we looked at a little bit was the adding the metadata to the WASM. And so there is a upcoming standardization for adding using GitHub attestation, so that as part of your GitHub workflow, you can sign the build itself and then put that in the WASM, so that then you have this even extra
Nice.
layer of making sure that when you're using a contract, it's the one you expected. And
Right. And that contract source verification. Yeah.
yeah, and then as I also mentioned, like yeah, making it part of the developer workflow for writing contracts, so that then you can import as if you were importing a normal Rust crate, instead of needing to. Right now, you have to point to an exact WASM file, and you need to know what the C address is. And so, yeah, us having that flexibility makes it easier to start to have this, actual, repository of contracts you can interact with.
Great. Well, and then so if you're so thanks for chatting, Mom. If people are interested in the Stellar Registry and making the docs for the Stellar Registry CLI, they can go to GitHub at the AHA co slash Stellar dash Scaffold. That's the project that has Scaffold Stellar, has the registry CLI, the registry contracts, which are audited as well. So you can go find us there. And if you're a partner in the Stellar community and you're interested in helping maintain the registry or contributing to the development of the registry, definitely get in touch with us. So thanks, Willem. We're looking
My
forward
pleasure.
to what's next with the registry.
Thanks.